Welcome to Home in Ticino. I'm Christopher Horskamp.
And I am Eliana Beccegato.
And we're here to help you discover the wonderful world of real estate in our beautiful canton of Ticino.
Are you ready?
Let's go. Welcome to Ticino. Today, we're going on a road trip. What better way to start this adventure of discovering the real estate market here than to ease our way in with an overview about the land itself we call Ticino, or Tessin in German. After today, you will have a better idea of what's around, and even some geographical, cultural, and historical side notes. Where are we going today? Well, we thought we'd start from the top and work our way down. Ticino has three major roads that come in from the Swiss-German areas, or Spitze Interna, as we call it. There's the A2 that comes down from the Gotthard Pass. There's also the A13 that comes down from the San Bernardino Pass. And there's also the Via Lucamagno, a well-maintained road that actually comes down from Disentis in the Rhine Valley. So grab your water bottle, put on your sunglasses, and hop in the car. We're going for a ride. So we are on the A2 heading south from the canton of Uri. In the winter, we will most definitely have taken the Gotthard Tunnel. It's 2 lanes with oncoming traffic at 80 kilometers per hour, and it's just under 17 kilometers long. It's a long tunnel. Actually, when it was built in 1980, it was the longest tunnel in the world. But the good news? The cellular service inside is super strong, so we can keep listening to our music or favorite podcast without interruptions. After about 15 minutes or so of darkness, what's that ahead? Sunlight. Yeah, we're definitely in Ticino. On a nice day in the summer, we may have even taken the mountain pass above the tunnel, or the super windy Tremolo Road. These are both legendary roads for motorists, motorcyclers, and bicyclers. No matter how we arrive in Ticino, there's a good chance that we've gone from crummy, colder weather to the Mediterranean sunshine and warmth Ticino benefits from. Just to the left of me, we have Eliana.
Hi, everyone.
She's concentrating on driving right now, so I'll be your tour guide. Okay, we have sunshine, and we're headed southeast through the Levantine Valley towards Bellinzona, Lugano, and eventually Italy. The first municipality we will see is Airolo, with a population of just about 1,500. We will keep on in this direction, but if you look out your window to the right now, you can see a road heading due west, hugging the northern leg of the Ticino River, which is flowing towards us. That road, which has many local names, doesn't have a lot on it, but it's the road that'll actually take you to the Newfoundland Pass, a gorgeous pass that actually links Ticino with Canton Valais. Okay, looking forward again, this next town coming up is Quinto. On the left, do you see those nearly vertical train tracks and those water pipes? That's the Ritum Poira Funicular Railway. There's a lake up on top used by the Swiss railroads to generate hydroelectricity for the Swiss trains. When we have more time, I'd love to take you back to ride the funicular. The views of the Levantine Valley are wonderful. And at a maximum incline of 87.8%, it's one of the steepest in the world. It's quite an experience. To the right, you see a long stretch of tarmac. The Ambri Airport was built during World War II for military purposes, but was opened as a civilian aerodrome in the 1990s. Sometimes it's still used for air shows. And that big structure right next to it? It's the new hockey arena for the Ambri team. They just upgraded from the old stadium that was still open air. So many matches the faithful would get rained on or snowed on. Ambri is actually one of the 2 Swiss National League hockey clubs that calls Ticino its home. It's officially called Hockey Club Ambri Piotta, representing the rural areas of the canton and also Bellinzona. And then we have Hockey Club Lugano, representing Ticino's most populated city and surrounding areas. There is a huge rivalry between these two, and when they play against each other at what we call the derby, there is usually a large energetic presence from both of the team's most faithful followers. In fact, you can even hear the cultural and sports rivalry together in the taunts of the fans. The Lugano fans kind of view themselves a little bit more metropolitan, and they'll start jumping together while they chant "Chi no salta contadino è," which actually means whoever isn't jumping is a farmer. And yeah, that was meant to be an insult. The Ambrise supporters, of course, return with taunts of their own. They also have a tradition of embracing their alpine roots by singing La Montanara, or Song of the Mountains. This is a 100-year-old folk song extolling the woods and golden valleys as well as the rugged cliffs of their alpine realities. But today, unfortunately, there isn't a match. Hey Eliana, what do you say we take the next motorway exit and continue on Route 2, the smaller road that's paralleling us?
Perfect. Let's take the exit for Quinto.
I'm not sure if you saw, but we just went over a bridge with train tracks underneath. Those are the older rail lines. They used to be the main train tracks to go into the Swiss-German parts, but now they only serve local trains for the region. This is because in 2016, they opened the Gotthard Pass tunnel, which is still the longest and deepest railway traffic tunnel in the world, at 57 kilometers long. It reduced the train trip from Lugano to Zurich from 3 hours to just 2 hours. I'll point out the window when we go by the entrance. And look around. It makes sense why they wanted to dig a tunnel to this extreme. We are in a pretty narrow valley that has to fit a major motorway, a smaller road, the Ticino River, and train tracks, and where there's space they even fit a town like the one coming up. Ah yes, Faido. All around you can see little roads zigzagging their way up the mountains. There are lots of little villages scattered around. Ooh, I just saw a sign that said Alpenkäse. Let's follow it up that way a bit. And here it is. This is something typical you see all around the Alps, and Ticino is no exception. So under this awning, there's a refrigerator that a local farmer puts cheese to sell. You just need to take the cheese or cheeses that you want and put the money in that lockbox over there. Let's get a little bit of the Alpe Ravina. You can often find numerous products from cheeses to honey to baked goods, and payment is usually done on the honor system. And it still works in these parts. Okay, let's get back onto Route 2. I want to show you a statue. You see this? It's a stone statue of a man rolling a boulder. It kind of looks modernist, right? Well, it was designed in 1929, so it makes sense. This statue shows us that we're coming into the village of Giornico, which houses the Museum of the Levantine Valley. So let's go back a bit in history. The Levantine Valley was part of the old Swiss Confederacy all the way back in 1408. But in 1422, the Swiss lost the Battle of Arbedo against the forces of the Duchy of Milan. So we can fast forward ahead to 1478. Just looking around, you can see this area next to Giornico is one of the steepest and narrowest places in the Levantine Valley. And as you've seen, this is one of the only routes to the north. Now, the old Swiss Confederacy is looking to expand into this side of the Alps. The Swiss from the other side of the Gotthard Pass sent troops to Bellinzona along this route. To be specific about numbers, the Swiss Confederacy had a grand total of 175 troops, not a lot. However, the people from the Levantine Valley saw the Swiss as liberators and provided a force of about 400 soldiers. These combined forces continued down these roads and laid siege to Bellinzona for 2 weeks. Now, the Duchy of Milan wasn't particularly happy about this and sent 10,000 troops as a response and to regain control of the Levantine Valley. 10,000 versus 600. Doesn't seem like a fair fight, does it? But the Swiss were already on their way back up the valley by the time the duchy's troops caught up to them. They actually caught up on December 28th. Yes, this is Switzerland. Yes, these are mountains. Yes, it's December. Yes, there was snow. These Swiss forces were accustomed to these conditions, much more than that of their rivals. And they were, of course, mountaineering experts as well. So they chose this narrow area to create an ambush. The story goes that the Swiss took the higher ground, and ambushed the forces of the duchy. And they did this by rolling boulders down these steep cliffs and hills into the narrow road below. The duchy's troops had nowhere to go. Long story short, this left 1,400 of the 10,000 Duchy of Milan's troops dead, and a huge moral victory for the old Swiss Confederation. 2 years later, the Duchy of Milan ceded the Levantine Valley to the Confederation. So now that statue of the man rolling the boulder makes a bit more sense, right? Okay, let's keep going a bit. Oh, and look, just to the right is the entrance to the Gotthard rail tunnel that we were discussing before. Just up ahead, we can see the town of Biasca, with the beautiful Cascata di Santa Petronilla that flows under a beautiful stone bridge. Definitely worth a little hike on a nice day. Actually, as we reach Biasca, this is technically the end of the Levantine Valley. If we were to turn left, we would be headed up one of the other roads I mentioned earlier, the Via Lucamagno, but we're going to go and continue south. And a little further, at Orbedo Castione, if we turn left, we meet up with the A13 that goes towards the San Bernardino Pass. We will have a look at those in a little bit. But if you look in the distance right now, do you see those castles? We've already arrived to Bellinzona. So, we're still in a narrow valley. On the left, you can see the Bellinzona train station. This is one of your two main train stations in Ticino. From here, you can go directly to Zug or Zurich. It also takes about 20 minutes to get to Lugano from here. Up the hill, you can see Castle Grande. Yes, the big one. Up the hill there is another one, in great condition, called Castello di Montebello. And all the way up further, you can see the tiny Castello di Sassocorbaro. That one was actually built by the Duchy of Milan in just 6 months, right after that terrible loss in Giornico. They wanted more defensive barriers to make sure that the Swiss Confederacy would have trouble if they ever wanted to march all the way to Milan. It's actually named for its location on a dark rock that resembles a crow's feathers. And crow in dialect is corbat. And Sasso means rock, so Sassocorbaro kind of makes sense. All of these castles can be visited, and some have special events or exhibitions. Let's go up to Castle Grande and really take a look to understand this area. Yes, there's an elevator, and there's only one stop. All right, and let's go a bit higher. Let's go up the White Tower. Okay, so here from on top of the White Tower, you can see everything, including the Black Tower. Amazing view.
I love it up here.
Me too. So, out there, if you didn't notice, there's a huge wall that extends from the castle across part of the valley. This is the Murata. Remember all of those important valleys and roads? Well, the Duke of Milan, and even before, they all knew this was an excellent place to protect land in the south, and also control all trade and transportation to and from lands to the south into the northern regions. So looking to the north, those 3 roads we've been talking about, they all come together by the time we reach here. And now let's look to the southwest. See that water over there? That's Lago Maggiore. And around the way, you'll find Locarno and Ascona and lots of little valleys that the people of Ticino hold dear to their hearts. And that road there heading due south, that's the A2 we were on before, and it heads up Monte Ceneri towards Lugano. In fact, the people of Ticino generally divide the canton into Sopraceneri, so everything north of this mountain, like Bellinzona, Biasca, Airolo, and Sottoceneri, meaning below the Ceneri mountain, which includes Lugano, Mendrisio, and Chiasso. We will visit Sottoceneri on another episode, because there is still so much to see north of Bellinzona. Let's go back to the car, and let's check out those other 2 roads I told you about before.
Tell them more about Bellinzona on the way.
Of course. So, Bellinzona is known for a few things. Even though it only has a population of just over 40,000, it is the capital of the canton and was chosen to host the Swiss Federal Criminal Court, which is a pretty big deal. Beyond this, there are lots of small bars and restaurants throughout this medieval city. And I can't not mention Ramadan, the legendary spring carnival that takes place every year. For an entire week, the city will be blocked off with revelers everywhere celebrating and venting the stress of the whole year. Everything you think about the Swiss, you can forget about for just one period of the year as things get jubilant and loud. At the end of the carnival, there is a large parade with pretty big floats that usually pick fun at the global and local politics and news. No politician is safe from having his likeness made a few meters in height and paraded around with ironic music. If it's not the biggest carnival in Switzerland, it's only second to Luzern's Fastnacht. So, let's head north back up the valley again on the A2 motorway.
Okay, I'm taking the exit.
We will only be on the road for a few minutes. Now, we are moving due east, and we are only a few kilometers from the cantonal border with Graubünden, or Grisons, or
Grigioni.
You see just ahead, we have Rovereto, Grono, and eventually Lo Stallo, and San Bernardino. This is the major way we connect Ticino with Canton Graubünden, Liechtenstein, Austria, and a lot of Germany. So even though the valley doesn't have a ton of villages, it is frequented by a lot of people. And even though we're on this side of the San Bernardino Pass, many people who grow up in this little area have a strong connection with Graubünden, where many speak the fourth Swiss national language, Romansch. But in this little part, they will also speak Italian, which isn't the case everywhere in Graubünden. Okay, we can double back now, back to the A2, and head north for the last road I want to show you. And I want to take you to this area because it is also special. We are getting to Biasca again. You see the valley splits here like we saw on the way down. Now we're going to take the Via Lucamagno directly north. Yes, the A2 is heading off to the northwest. Here, we go directly north into the Val di Blegno. This whole area is a hidden gem in Ticino, and it is quite interesting for real estate. So there are many places north of Bellinzona, like the Levantine Valley, which is quiet and nice, and those areas are also connected to the motorway. This area is a bit slower. Beyond those who want to live in an area that is a bit quieter, many Ticinese will have summer houses in this area. We just briefly passed through the subdistrict of Malavaglia, and we're entering the subdistrict of Acqua Rossa. You can start to see little mountain roads headed up in every direction to older villages.
I have an idea. Let's go up this road. What do you see?
Well, that's an old stone house that's seen better days, and it looks like it could use some love.
It does need some love. It's a rustico.
So, what actually defines a rustico?
Good question. Actually, rustico is a very specific definition. First of all, it's an old building made of stone, typical of this region. And the construction can even vary from village to village.
But I've seen lots of different types of houses listed as rusticos, even some that look like little chalets.
Sometimes the terminology of rustico is misunderstood. I think we need a complete episode on it.
Ah, cool. That'll be a fun one. So just down the way, there are a bunch of these buildings together in the center of a village. Are those rusticos too?
Actually, those are case di nucleo.
Ooh, I can't wait to do the rustico episode. So we're back on our way down the mountain to Acqua Rossa, and we're heading north to the village of Blegno now. If we were to keep going all the way into the valley north to Girone, there's a spectacular hiking area. It almost feels like the mountains are hugging you. The last time I was there, a cheeky little fox danced around as I drove down a well-paved but only big enough for one car road. In the same area, there's a hydroelectric dam hidden up in the mountainside, which was briefly made famous by a group of YouTubers called How Ridiculous from Australia. Actually, they just threw some things off of the dam to show the physical properties, but quite entertaining and slightly educational. But we aren't going there. We are winding our way to the northwest to cut through the Gotthard Pass. For a valley, it really flattens out at the top with some good hiking. Actually, I can't single out this area for hiking. There is hiking everywhere in Ticino's valleys. But this area comes to an end at this lake up here. Here is the Lago di Santa Maria, but its name will often appear in maps in Romansh first. And if we're speaking in Romansh, then we have once again found ourselves on the border of Graubünden, or
Grigioni.
And since this is the Home in Ticino podcast, I think this is a good place to stop for the day. Actually, let's just cross the border and get a nice selfie on the dam. From the dam, you can see all the way down the narrow valley that will lead to Descentis with its 6 ski lifts and 150 kilometers of hiking, a well-known area for recreation all year round. So, we'll leave off here for the day.
But stay ready for more adventures at Sopraceneri.
For more information on this subject, check out our website www.homeinticino.com or even the Italian version www.casainticino.com and take a look at the links that are available. And with that, we close our first full podcast from Home in Ticino. We'd like to thank you for joining us, and we look forward to being with you in future episodes, including Part 2, Sopraceneri.
If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you follow us.
Yes, we're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast services, so you can listen to new episodes as they come out. Every village and every house has a story, and we're happy to help you discover them.
So, until the next episode,
Remember, you're at home with us in Ticino.